Hi everyone, my name's PK and here I have Marce Osorio. She is an amazing, amazing woman. She's obviously I'm very proud to say, a client of the Property Investment Accelerator, a relatively new migrant into Australia from Colombia, from South America. And, she's been part of my Facebook group for a long time. She decided to do my course, but, every week she tunes into the mentoring calls. Every week she's engaging with the community, asking questions. She's had so many blockers. She's had so many dead ends in her property investment journey because she's not actually a permanent resident just yet. So in this episode, though, I want to really dive deep and share how she's bought two amazing properties. The first property, right? These are established properties, fantastic properties. The first one is in regional South Australia for $295,000, 1,000 square meter block. It's 330 rent right now, but market rent, when the current lease expires, will go up to 380. So the yield will be terrific, and it's got subdivision potential as well. And the second property she's bought in regional Queensland, once again, she's saying it's a beautiful house. I'm reading her notes here. It's got like really a lot of potential. It's already rising in value because similar properties are selling for about $20,000-$30,000 more in the same part of the suburb. She's got it for about $366,000, and the rental appraisal is about $470 a week. But I don't just want to give you guys the success or the conclusions. I want to dive deep and share and ask the questions of how she's actually done it, because it's a big thing migrating halfway around the world and then navigating a new property market, especially as someone who's not a citizen, with the banking regulations, with the SMSF regulations, with the broking, with lending, with FIRB, with approvals, as extra stamp duty, etc., etc. So it's really a story, I would say, of grit and not giving up. And that's no credit to me, and it's all credit to her. So like I was saying before we hit record, Marcia, I just want to say, yeah, I mean, I'm super, super happy and proud and thrilled at what you've achieved.
Hi, Piquet. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is very lovely to be here. I feel so honored. I work very hard for this. I've been saying to my partner, to my family, hey, look, no is not for an answer. We're gonna get there.
Welcome to the Oz Property Investment Mastery Podcast. My name's PK and I help busy people build passive income by buying top 5% growth and cash flow property and build a portfolio using data without wasting months doing research, spending weekends at inspection or catching flights, or dropping $10,000 to $20,000 on buyer's agents every single time. So if you're confused, lack confidence, and just overwhelmed with all the information and marketing misinformation available online and don't know where to start, then this show is for you.
A lot of you will recognize Marcia because she's very she has lots of expressions. She's always like contributing in the Facebook group, trying to help each other, everyone else. So I'm loving this episode already. Let's just start from the start. Like, when did you arrive in Australia, and like, why are you so interested in investing in property? Why not just hang out at the beaches? Why not just, do all those things? Why are you so fixated on generating wealth?
Well, I came to Australia 8 years ago. I was living in Victoria to start with. I'm in South Australia at the moment. And then when COVID hit, I was an international student. So that hit me really, really hard because I lost my job. I work in hospital. I'm a chef. I do not have a high income. So obviously lose it all, then keep paying rent, my study fees. And it was a whole thing. I was like, oh, I can't do this. Then I started trying to generate some money and get into like finance and all of that. And that's how this whole thing started. Then I'll fund you, your YouTube videos, and I'm like, oh wow. So I saved over a year for paying your course, even when I was international student. Then I think I talked to you about the course, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I know that I might not be able to buy now, but let's get trained for it. And that's how everything started, because I feel like the uncertainty and what I'm seeing as an immigrant is like Australia is a beautiful country, is so rich. We have so much opportunities, and the opportunities are for each of us. So we just need to take them. The opportunities are just there. We just, yeah, have to take advantage of it.
It's such a like a mindset, because I think those of us who have grown up in Australia, we can take advantage of, or we can become complacent, I think, of Australia, and we can sort of start to complain about how expensive everything is and politics and this and that. But it's really refreshing when you hear folks from overseas like yourself come in, and just the gratitude that you have, and the perception you have as the land of opportunity compared to where you're coming from. And so I think that's really inspiring. So did you actually finish your, like, you were an international student, did you recently finish your studies, or and you just started working? Is that what's happening?
So I finished all my studies at mid-20. Then I have to apply for a postgraduate, which is what usually happen after you finish your uni or your TAFE or whatever.
Yeah.
Then within my 485, which is the postgraduate visa, you are allowed to work full time, because technically as an international student, you are a part-time. You can't work overtime. Otherwise, you can get back.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, as soon as I finished that, I start to do all my paperwork to apply for my PR. So I have to move interstate, because I was in Melbourne by the time, and I have to move to regional South Australia in order to achieve my PR. And then that process took me from 2021 to 2024. I just got the invitation, which is when the governments look at your profile and they go like, hey, look, you're qualified with your skill to apply for migration. So therefore, we want you in this stage, at this stage. So that's what it happened in January. And then after that, you go into a bridging visa to this visa that I applied, which is the 491, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so what are, like, you've got these two properties, well, you're sort of, almost got them, I would say, haven't quite settled, etc. Um, what's been the process like? And I were talking about this before, in terms of getting approval to buy established properties, because typically folks who aren't permanent residents, they can only buy new properties, or I think if they do want to buy established properties, it has to be the principal place of residence. But there's a whole bunch of like rules around it. Of course, there's extra stamp duty to pay for non-PRs in most instances. And not all banks will give, loans. So could you take us through perhaps the biggest struggles that you've faced? Because I know you've also gone to different mortgage brokers for advice, different professionals for advice. What are the main challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them? Because I think there'll be many people in your shoes that will want to know.
Right. Let me be honest, in this sense, like it's quite difficult. It's very hard. It's very, very like mentally draining. But if you know your goal, you will get there. That's the main thing. You can get overwhelmed by the tsunami of documents that you have to get done. But when you get it done and it's settled, you will get the fruits. So yes, I have to pay extra stamp duty, but it's a ways to work around to do not overpay for the stamp duty. Two, I've seen it with so many of my friends and acquaintances. Like, I got the advantage, yes, of not being like fully permanent resident, but my partner is an Australian citizen, which is a great advantage of it, because property investment wise, under the lender's like perspective, we can share the loan amount because we have a strong relationship, and that's how the other part comes out of it. So we have to show that our relationship is genuine if we are in a relationship de facto. to show that to the banks that I'm interested to actually stay in Australia. So therefore they can like actually have a look at my file. So that's the first thing. Like, yes, you can do it as a TR, as a temporary resident, or even a bridged temporary resident. I'm not even, I haven't got my fully granted visa. That's to start with, which is a lot. But yes, you can do that through an Australian citizen and apply together. Two, there are states that are a little bit more friendly than the other ones. So for example, in Queensland, because my partner and I, we are looking at as Australian citizens in once because of her citizenship. So we are Australian citizen, but for example, in South Australia, when we're trying to buy in here, we were being named as a foreign entity. So in this case, we did not need to pay FIRB because she's an Australian citizen, but I'm not, but I have to pay extra stamp duty. So what we did is to work around the ownership percentage in order to pay less stamp duty. And that's legally the way to work around and pay less when you are like a TR or you are in that process to get the TR.
So there's two things. One is how to get the loan. The second thing is how to get the Foreign Investment Review Board approval, FIRB. And the third thing is what percentage of the title of the property on the contract do you put as your ownership versus your partner's ownership? And it sounds like in South Australia, because they are a little bit more strict versus Queensland, you had to have your partner, who is a citizen, own the majority of the property. But that is an independent equation versus the FIRB approval. You still had to get the FIRB approval for South Australia, or did you avoid getting it?
Yes, we do avoid getting it because she's an Australian citizen. It wouldn't be different if, for example, she wouldn't be a permanent resident only, or if we were like both 491 visas. We have to get those first if we were in those visas, but since she born here, we get away with it. That's what, and also like, yes, she owns more the house than me, which is great.
And is that the case for Queensland as well? There's no FIRB approval process?
Queensland, I was treated as an Australian citizen because we were buying the same. Like, actually, we're 50-50 in the Queensland one, where in South Australia, we are slightly different.
And for Queensland, you didn't have to pay the extra stamp duty that non-PRs have to pay, but in South Australia, you did? Is that what happened? Did I understand correctly?
Correct. So in Queensland, I did not pay extra stamp duty.
Right. So there's FIRB, there's stamp duty, and then there's borrowing capacity. So regardless of who's on the title in terms of what percentage of ownership, if you're comfortable sharing, for these two properties, did you predominantly use your borrowing capacity or your partner's borrowing capacity? Or was it both?
Oh, no, we actually use both, and it's under our personal names. Like, we are not even using like SMSF or any of those things. It's actually under personal names, but you have to get a mortgage broker that is actually very, very well knowledge with the immigrants, because this is quite like hard topic. It's so hard to understand the visas and all of that, because it's so confusing even for us that we're trying to migrate to Australia.
Yeah. For folks in your position, Marce, how did you find a really good mortgage broker? Like, how did you ask particular questions to figure out if they know this stuff, or how did you know that, yep, this mortgage broker is good? Because it's added complexity, and maybe in the mortgage broker's eyes, they're like, this is so hard, and I'm not getting paid anymore just because these guys aren't citizens. So, like, how can people try to find a good broker?
Well, I think, as you say, you have to surround it with a good team, and one thing leads to another. So I got a beautiful accountant, which you recommend us in the course. And that accountant, it was very well knowledge in regards to the visa. So I was asking different type of conveyancers and solicitors, like, here, that's my situation. And I think when you communicate effectively and clear where you at, I think people can direct you to the right person. And obviously, when you find the right person, you just need to be as honest as possible and say, like, hey, look, I do not have this, I have this, I'm in this stage, can we do this? Instead of like, trying to waste their time and maybe confuse them further with the visa situation, because the majority of the brokers that I went, because I went to so many, they say, no, you have to wait until you get your PR. No, you have to wait until this, you have to wait. And I'm like, no, I already wait. The Adelaide boom, I wait for the per boom. I can't wait anymore. I've been waiting for 2.5 years and I can't wait more. Then it needs to be a way that I have to get this. It's just no, a no for answer again.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying at the start of the episode. You've really not taken no for an answer. And for folks that are out there that maybe are in your exact position, but they don't have their PR yet, they're like, it's a lot of documentation. Maybe I do need to pay some extra stamp duty. Oh, it's just so hard. Let me just wait 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years until I become a PR, permanent resident, and then I'll invest. Then I'll, step onto the property ladder. That's just an easier option. What would be your suggestion, or what would be your advice to them?
Look, if they're immigrants like me, I would ask them the question like, would you wait another 4 to 5 or 6 years to wait in Australia, relax the laws, and then come to Australia? No, we were desperately want to find a different journey in Australia, and we do so much to staying here. It's the same in property investment like journey, As much as you wait, it's harder it's gonna get, because that's how it is migration wise. If you wouldn't migrate 15 years ago, it wouldn't be way easier, open market, to migrate. Nowadays, it's so hard. It's very difficult. It's the same equation, but to the investment property. Like, why do you need to wait 10 or 15 years when you can do the hard work now? Hard work like open marks, because we already done the hard work, which is migrated here. We're out of our comfort zone. We leave our family. We have to reinvent sometimes. I was a nurse in Colombia, and here I have to become a chef, which I love it now. But look, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes we take the life too serious and we do not consider how lucky we are that we can start 1, 2, 3, 10 times and still be able to achieve whatever we want here in Australia. That's amazing. So that's why I encourage every single one, like, invest now, where you have to pay, I don't know, 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever. But believe me, we spend more money in our studies that we not even realize. And we couldn't buy, the majority of immigrants, like a house outright. And we're not even aware of it. And now we want to be like little bit when July, we have to pay 15 extra, 20 extra. No, like, we already do the hard bit. So yeah, that's my mindset. That's what I think it is. And that's why for me it was important to start now, because as I don't know, you said, many people said it, like, sometimes, yes, it's the time in the market, but also is the right timing in the market. And I think this is a great time. It is amazing. So yeah, I just see opportunities everywhere in this 2024.
Yeah, I love that answer. I mean, your enthusiasm and determination is very infectious. I feel like going out for a run or something. But, no, that's also, I love it. And how did you build so much confidence in the Australian property market? Like, I know for sure if I migrate to Colombia, I know nothing about Colombia, and I'm probably like super skeptical about every single person I meet that's, related to property. I'm just making up a hypothetical example here. And I'm probably like, oh, I have no idea how the property market performs in Colombia, let alone different cities, different suburbs. I don't know the legal side of things. Like, what if someone steals my property? Is that a thing in Colombia? What if someone squats there? Just claim it? I'm trying to create a bit of a scenario of my mindset, and that would probably scare me enough to like not want to think about investing, at least in the first 10 years of being in a new country. How have you been able to gain so much conviction in Australian real estate? How have you been able to gain so much understanding of the legalities, the regulations, so that you're putting basically the lion's share of your life savings into investing in real estate?
Well, I think there are two factors. So the first factor comes by knowledge. As I mentioned before, I saved for a year with your course, but I was following like your YouTube channel as well as the Facebook, and I've seen it, and not only that, I have the opportunity to meet a lot of people in Melbourne who invest in property, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. How much money, how much more, rather than the money for me in that time, it was the in those moments it was the time, because when you're an international student you start to evaluate like, oh, I'm so tired, I have to do this and that. So the time for me was like crucial. I want to get more time in this country to enjoy this country. So I started gaining a lot of confidence over the YouTube and the Facebook group. And as soon as I pull the trigger and buy your course, it's not like, I'm trying to everyone, hey, buy PK's course, because it's not. But literally give me more confidence. And I was like, you know what, I can do this. Like if other people do it and in another immigrants are doing it for a different countries, why not? And even like sometimes we have that sort of mindset because we got an accent, our English is not the best, people are not taking you serious. And yes, in fact, some people didn't take me serious. And as soon as I start talking with knowledge and every single thing that you teach us in the course, they start like, oh, actually, she knows what she's talking about. So that's how I think I built up the confidence. And obviously talking with a lot of people that it was involved, that even it wasn't part of your course. And I was like, right, I think I know a bit. I have to learn more. I'm just learning, but this is a good starting. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and honestly, like when I win, like when my clients or even community members, when you guys get results, I genuinely feel it to be a victory for me. I just want to deep dive a little bit on like maybe not the language barrier so much, but like perhaps culture barrier, or when you're talking with sales agents trying to get deals, ask about different properties, and they figure out that you're not actually a permanent resident. Did that turn them off? Were they like, "Oh, this is a time waster," or like, was that process like difficult? Because I always feel this was a big change. Something new. Property investing changes always like really hard at the start. Then it becomes like sort of messy in the middle, and of course at the end it's beautiful. But you have to get through the start and the middle. What was that like in terms of talking with sales agents and things like that?
Well, to start with, I don't think that you have to disclose everything. You have to be as well like a little bit strategic and smart how you talk, and you have to charm people, Like you don't like you try to be yourself. You don't need to be like over the top, but you don't need to be like freaking out because they're going for business, so are you. So we are in the same boat, and sort of like they wanna sell the property, we wanna buy. It's a good deal for both of us. So that was my first thing. Like, I'm gonna go there and say, like, usually I didn't have any property, and I was like, hey, I'm a professional investor, and I was already like picturing myself with so many properties that putting yourself in those shoes is giving you 100% the confidence to talk to them. And then I've never said like, hey, I'm not a PR, I'm looking for a property now, because even if you're a citizen, you don't go like, hey, I'm PK, I'm a citizen of Australia. Like, you just go like, hey, I'm PK, I'm looking for a property, and you
Yeah.
just go from there. So I think that's very important. You have to be careful what you say, what you don't say, what you have to be super naked with your information, or your team. Your conveyancer, your mortgage broker, your accountant, they are the ones that needs to know you from the beginning.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, well said. I like that, how you sort of imagined or visioned yourself, like, I don't know if that's the real word, but you thought of yourself as already a professional investor, and like sort of with that mindset and with that confidence and sort of broad chest, so to speak, you approached matters. That's really cool. I think you mentioned before you hit record as well that there was a couple of banks or some banks that like a little bit more favorable towards lending for non-citizens or non-PRs. Are you able to share which those banks are? Because I'm sure other people who are watching will be super curious.
Um, to be honest, I really don't know. It's my mortgage broker, the one who knows, because he's the one who is going for it. But
Mhm.
for example, there were some banks, on the other hand, that were very strict with us. And it was like ANZ, the one, he was like, that bank is super strict. And they not looked at me. They go like, not even. Like, when you're a permanent resident, we can talk.
Okay.
But yes, I can't give you that answer. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just curious. At least maybe not ANZ. I know CBA is quite good with like expats in Australian expats abroad, but I don't know what their policy is. With temporary residents or bridging visas and things like that. One question I wanted to ask you as well, Marce, was you've been in the Facebook group a lot, and you've seen the conversations there, and you've seen how I guess the mentality of different types of people. There's the mentality of someone who's like, I don't want to say know it all, but they know a lot and they're always like clinical and it's like, good for you, keep doing what you're doing. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there are folks who are like asking very newbie questions, and that's fine as well. But a lot of the time people are super hesitant. They're always asking, is there a recession around the corner, a mortgage cliff? What if inflation goes up again? There's a lot of fear mongering in our environment, in our ecosystems, online, at work, in our societies and communities that kind of really prevents people from having conviction in their own goals. What is the kind of advice perhaps that like if there was 100 people in the Facebook group that were relatively new to property investing, what's some advice that you can share with them based on your own experience in terms of mentality and mindset?
Well, I think this is a very good question actually, because again, I think it's maybe for my migration background that I can't see Australia going to crash. And even if it crash in the worst thing, it will be exactly the same thing as we are in South America. And in South America, we are still quite comfortable to live. So when people is quite hesitant or a little bit scared, I think it's maybe because respectfully, I don't know anyone's like, situation. But I think when you have your goals like clear, you block the noise. You know what I mean? So many people when we migrate at the same time, they're just coming back because they can't do it. But we have a bunch of us that we are like, look, yes, it's hard at the beginning, but after we pass that, it's gonna get on, like it's gonna get easy and easier and easier. So what I will say is definitely like, yes, you have to look after yourself first instead of looking others, yes, whatever like happened in Australia, like in the macroeconomy, it would affect us, but they can't control your own household situation, your personal finance. And regardless of what happened around, you have to control yourself, because that's the only thing that you can do. Like you can't control someone else, or you can't control even your partner, your neighbor, but you can control what to do with your time, what to do with your money, how to allocate those important assets. When you do that, believe me, you get the confidence and you get the strength to say like, look, the worst comes to worst, I already been there. We already been in COVID, which it was the worst, and here we are alive. I don't know, a lot of migrants come here, we don't have jobs and house crisis and all of that, but we are here and we are still buying houses, and it's houses for everyone. You know what I mean? So the worst that it could happen already happened, and we are so afraid that the worst can come to us, but we don't realize that already happened. So yeah, I think when you are in a journey that the worst thing can happen to you and already happened to you, you are not afraid anymore. And I think sometimes we are so full of fear and we forget to live our life not that serious. Sometimes we take it too serious, and it's like, and it's so short. So yeah, I think, yeah, I would say like just work on your fears. That's what it is. Sometimes you just fear to being in a situation that you maybe already been and you not even realize that you've been there.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and it's like, 99% of the time, what we're most afraid of, it's like it never transpires. If you think about all the times in your life you're super afraid or anxious or nervous about some future event, I almost guarantee like 100% or 99%, it never actually happened. Or if it did happen, it was like minuscule and relative to how much you made it out to be. And like the immigrant's journey or the immigrant story is so unique because to migrate from one country to another is much harder than buying investment property. And so if you've done that, like exactly what you've said, you've already done the hardest thing. Like it's only going to get easier from here. So I think, if you have that context, you back yourself, and the best way to start is to start. It's not to like overthink it. And of course, don't just like jump into anything. Don't jump into a course without doing your due diligence, or jump into a property, or jump into anything. But at the same time, not overthinking is also a skill, one that I'm still working on myself, by the way. So I'm not preaching from a pedestal or anything like that. And then, like, let's say fast forward, Marce, and yourself and your partner, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what are your guys' goals in terms of wealth or property, or, in this kind of facet of life? Do you guys have crystal clear goals, or what's your long-term strategy?
Well, our strategy at this stage obviously is accumulation phase, which is fun. It's amazing. Believe it or not, it's stressful, but I learned to enjoy this process. It's amazing, it's amazing. Like you go home, you share data, and you're like, oh, what about this house? That's cute. And people don't realize, and they go like, oh no, this house and this and that. When you come to the other side, I don't know, you tell me, you're like, oh, now what? Like, we don't have that this sort of like excitement. Oh, I got my offer approved. So the first thing is in accumulation phase and enjoy this process. Secondly, as soon as we are financially free, or not even financially free, because as our end goal at the end of the day is to control our time and finance. And sometimes people are there and they don't realize, and they keep working so hard, so hard, so hard, and they don't stop to looked and said like, okay, I'm actually don't need to do this. So yeah, so we want to have that sort of facility to use our time and money in the way that we feel passionate about it. And one of our main goals for both of us is, because we are so keen on migration and refugee side of it. My partner is a teacher and she loves to help people like me. I came to Australia with no English, and it's so hard to communicate. It's a lot of distress. And then all the ways through to here that I'm able to communicate, and buying property is huge. So I want that for people that actually feel scared of the language. So we want to build that sort of like a community where we be able to encourage them to pull the trigger. So like, even if I say 1, 2 words, just give it a crack. The worst thing is they don't understand, you repeat it, or you show the Google translator. That's it. So that's one main thing. And the third one, I would like to support a lot of my community back in Colombia. I think it's a lot of need in there, and that's our future plans. And obviously, if we have more time and more money, which we will, travel the world, why not? But this is not our priority. That would be, in our second priority. But this is pretty much our priority. So accumulate what we need, get that sorted, and then start to build up what we want, which is like that community, and help those people. Yeah.
That's so nice. It really shows your heart that your priority is, of course, you can't help someone, from a position of despair or disadvantage as much as you can from a place of abundance and advantage. So I love that. Of course, that's what you're going for first, but then your priority is to help these refugees, or, like people, your community back in Colombia. That's a higher thing than like traveling the world or like this. It's really inspiring for me. I think the world needs more people with this mindset, more people with this heart that you have. And there's a saying that consistency is the mother of mastery, and as I've seen you constantly engage, like I was saying at the start, with the community, with the mentoring calls, with myself asking questions, you've always been at it. And, of course, you didn't have the funds at the start. You saved a whole year just for the course, which makes me feel super grateful, by the way. Thank you. You've just kept on going. You've not taken no for an answer. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, you're just so inspiring. I really like this. And I hope that so many people gain inspiration and so many people gain um like that resonance you get from someone. It's like, oh, they weren't super rich to start with, and they've done really well, and by the way, they're super humble and they're trying to help. It's I think it's those stories that really embed themselves in our psyche and give us the encouragement that we can do it too. Because if you hear someone who's like then fabulously wealthy and it's like, well, I can't relate to them anymore, and it's like that only works for some people. But I loved it. I love talking to you. Marcy, was there anything lastly that you want to say, and for the benefit of the community, before we finish up?
100%. I think the most important thing that I will say today is like, please don't be afraid. We lose more money being afraid to pull the trigger than what we actually pull it, I wasn't afraid to leave Colombia. I was in the top ladder, if it makes sense, in my career. I finished uni, I finished my degree, then I've done so many things over there, and still yet I feel like, I should discover this. And so many people wouldn't, so like, are you crazy for leaving? Or you're like, you comfort zone. But I knew it that when you work hard for something, you will get results. So if everything wouldn't be easy in this case property, everyone would have done it. So
Right.
please, just even if it feels hard, it's because you're going in the right way. Because nothing that is actually truthful like comes from an easy path. So I think that's something that will leave it on people. I
I
think.
like that. I like that. I'm sure you're making your family and friends and former colleagues and community back in Colombia super proud. I'm sure they're like, yeah, amazed by what you've achieved, because I honestly think that like uh, the discomfort of growth it's actually less dangerous than the illusion of staying the same, or the illusion of security. It's like, you could have stayed in Colombia and it's like you're fine. You're in the top 20% or whatever, and it's fine. But I think who you've become, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're probably so happy that you got out of that comfort zone. And it's been hard, it's been challenging, but the best things are, and they're the best things because hardly anyone does it. So I don't know what else to say. So, congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you. Of course, I can't take any credit at all. I always say with my students or clients, I kind of meet you halfway, and then you kind of have to come halfway as well. It takes two to tango. And I think for you, you've definitely come more than halfway. You've come more on my side, and I don't think I've done much at all. So, all credit goes to you. And I'm, how cool would it be to have a conversation in 10 years or 15 years, and you're helping those refugees, you're helping your community at home, you're living abundantly. That would put a big smile on my face. So congratulations.
Thank you, PK. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of your community. Thank you for your course. And thank you for all the support. Like, yes, I work hard, but you being an exceptional support person to me. So thank you so much for everything. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Marcy. I'm very grateful. And thank you everyone for watching or listening. Hopefully you got a ton of education, but I think this one was all about inspiration, all about like, yeah, you can do it too. And I always say this at the end of these client videos. There's more than 150 of them in the client results playlist. Go through them. There's amazing, amazing people like Marce, local people, international people from all walks of life, all wealth spectrums. You'll become so much inspired by them. And honestly, I don't care if you do the course or not. Even without me, please take action, because when you win, I win. That's kind of like the mentality I have. So thank you for listening. And once again, thank you, Marcy.
Thank you.